So this is not an academic session. This is a strategy planning slash goal setting kind of a session. And the agenda is to get ready for mocks in say 45 days. Now I know it might sound like a very big goal, but I assure you it is eminently doable. And what do I mean by readiness for mocks? That means the first time you take your test, you're not flabbergasted by it. You will hit 85 to 90 percentile with if you follow the plan, and of course you've been through school and you are an educated person and you've been preparing reasonably well. So keeping all of that in mind, that's what I mean by readiness, that once you first jump into your first mock, you're not blown away, you're prepared for it, and how to do that quickly. Obviously the first step would be to look at what are my major subjects. So I have quant, I have verbal, and I have DILR. Let me start with verbal first of all. A major chunk of the verbal section is reading comprehension and critical reasoning. Now for a lot of people who have been reading a lot, they are into reading not because of CAT or MBA, but they like reading, they enjoy reading. For a lot of them, this part of the test can be a zero prep section. And that was the case for me the very first time I appeared for the test. When I first appeared for the test, the RC section required no preparation. You just read it and you answer. And because you have been reading, 75% accuracy was not too much of a challenge in the very first test itself. And what were my habits in that case in college? I wasn't doing too much of college work, but I was definitely reading a lot. I was reading fiction, novels, newspaper, whatever I could get my hands on, and then I made a more sustained or serious effort to do it. But if you are that kind of a person who already has that habit, you are already kind of ready for the exam. Same for CR. For a lot of people, CR is a zero preparation section. The first time you look at a question, you will understand commonsensically, oh yeah, obviously this is the answer choice. So the preparation part is for those for whom the English is like a very alien second kind of a language, right? And we can work on those skills also. And even if you want to work on your reading skills, a 45-day period where the first 5-10 days are spent on acquiring the skills and the remaining 40 days are spent on practicing, etc., is enough. Making it 200 days after that is not going to add too much over the top value. So whatever you have to learn about these skills, 45 days, that means maybe 40 minutes a day, half an hour a day to acquire the skill, and a daily reading habit from morning to evening, reading the newspaper, reading any magazine article that shows up. So many people are making so many recommendations all over the internet. So get into those articles and read a few a day. And this is once again cannot be considered the tough part of preparation. That is again something a lot of people do for leisure and fun. So you cannot call it a heavy load part of the preparation. But as you do it, as you do more of it, the RCCR section is going to be sorted. And I'm talking about only 45 days. We have approximately maybe more than 120 days. So I'm not saying that you're done in 45 days. 45 days you are ready to jump into the exam. So and that means, what that also means is, don't wait for any special mana to drop from the sky and that special secret or some special magic for you to start taking that test as such, because you also need a lot of test practice, right? So if I look at least the CR and RC section, it can be a zero preparation section for a lot of people. And again, if I put in a 45 days sustained effort to master that particular skill, RC and CR can be worked out, provided that you're comfortable with basic English. You've had an English medium education and you're thinking of CAT and it's like a big exam, right? So that would be my 2 cents on thinking of verbal and CR for a marathon preparation session in 45 days, right? The same approach or the same kind of thought process can be applied to DILR as well, because in this subject also I invite you to try and do 25 sets, especially if you can find 25 varied sets. You will find that there is one common thread, which is deductive reasoning and the habit of solving problems. But once again, there is no pre-preparation theory. So let's say for 45 days, if you can manage one cat level set a day while watching somebody else's solution also, maybe you cannot solve it by yourself the first 10, 15, 20, but you watch the solution and then you understand, and even that will require effort, and then maybe the next day you can execute it. Again, 45 days, one set a day, half an hour to 40 minutes a day is eminently doable, and again you will see it reaches a certain level. It won't change too much after 180 days also, because you have reached the limit of what you can learn from external sources, and then it's just a matter of consistent practice. So if you do it for 45 days, you're good enough to start hitting your mocks, and in your mocks you're getting even more practice. So even your mocks is not like a life and death matter, it is just more practice questions on a fixed day, on a fixed time, with that time pressure, so that you can also get used to that 2 hour, 3 hour sitting down thinking challenge, right? So once again, if I look at two major sections of the exam, verbal and DILR, are kind of zero prep. I know it might sound very, very outrageous, zero prep, how can you say that? There's like a huge industry out there for preparation only, and yes, I'm a part of that, but I'm saying 45 days is long enough to make a serious dent as far as saying ki, oh, I wanted training in the subject, because after the training there is the testing, right? There is the actual event of being good at the task given to you, and therein also lies in a very, very big secret about the exam, that the exam is not about LR, super LR skills or super math skills, or you having to go through a literature degree before you can attempt the test. The exam is about task orientation. Can you thrive under pressure? Can you manage time? Can you find the easy questions? Because, and you will see, either you have seen it or you will see it over and over again. In an RC passage, you don't have to read everything. Maybe just reading a little bit, you could have answered 2 questions. In an LR passage, most of the set is very, very tough, but the first 2 questions were absolute sitters. So are you on to this game? Because the exam is not about you knowing too much, but you being able to find and execute in that time under obviously severe pressure, because it's such a big deal, etc. And your mental strength will obviously play a very, very important part in the process, right? So get used to this idea of getting things done. I know that reading a little I can derive a lot. I know that throughout all of these different kind of LR questions there is one common thread of deductive reasoning. So if I can master that, maybe I can master many sets. That should be my approach in the beginning. So that is about verbal and DILR, and the secret of the exam, that is not trying to get you to become a grammar expert or a literature student or a greatest puzzle solver of all time. It is looking for your task orientation in a time bound, basically is looking for your management aptitude, right? Can you get things done under pressure and in time? And it is testing it in this little bit of an academic bracket. So that's about verbal and DILR. Now let's talk about quant. And again, I'm thinking of 45 days. Even if I give 15 days to a subject, and the top 2 subjects would be, in the beginning at least, would be arithmetic and geometry. If I look at the last few years, though I'm not a believer in watching the exam pattern as such, I'm a believer in straightforward subject matter expertise. Learn everything and you will manage very, very well, right? But if you're looking at, okay, how can I get ready quickly? Arithmetic has been a major chunk, so it will also be a major chunk in these mocks that you encounter. And geometry is also always been a perennial kind of favorite. So both of these subjects can be learned in 15 days. And when I say can be learned in 15 days, I'm talking about people who are have completely forgotten about maths or are scared of maths also, but now they are ready and willing to work hard. And for maths will take your big chunk, because that is the only subject where you need to invest in that formula or that way of thinking or knowing those key terms. Okay, what do I mean by a ratio? What do I mean by a percentage? And again, that's for people who are struggling. Those who have appeared for an engineering exam and prepared very, very hard for any other test, they would have similarly, they would find math section fairly easy to jump into, because they would already be fairly comfortable with key terms like quadratic equation, and what is the root of an equation, what are the core formulas, how does the graph of a quadratic equation look. All of this they would know already even before starting day one of preparation. So the way people have just like the way those people who read find the verbal section easy, those people who have been appearing for such tests earlier find the math section fairly straightforward. But for even for those who have not been, been in touch with maths, let's say, and but are now serious, I promise you 15 days is enough to go from nothing to knowing everything, that every familiar every possible tool, all kinds of possible questions, knowing all the key terms and having some practice under your belt. It can be done in 15 days, having that 2-hour session or maybe a 1-hour session in the morning and 1-hour session in the evening. Or if you are an adult and you're a grown up and you can learn in pockets, which I do a lot. I mean, I will start something, learn half an hour in the morning, then do something else, and then I'll remember I want to learn that more and I will pursue it more, right? So once you're into a subject, then time doesn't matter. You just follow the guideline and the goal, right? So essentially what you need to do is make 15 day slots for yourself, and that is also very, very luxurious. So 15 day for arithmetic, 15 day for geometry, and that still leaves 15 days for other subjects. And if you're looking at other subjects, the minimum of algebra, right? What is a quadratic equation? How do basic inequalities work? Minimum of number system, just an introduction to factorization, factorial, HCF, LCM. You're not going very, very deep, let's say. That can be done in 45 days. That can be done in 45 days, and this is how you can be ready or mock ready for your exams. All you need is an organized material path. If your path is organized, doing this is very, very easy. But if you don't have that path organized already for you, and I'm talking about any course that you might have signed up for, or your teacher, or your coaching program, or my program, wherever, if you have that lined up in this modern day age where the videos are already there, you can go very, very fast. The 6 months plan belonged to the pre-internet age where you had to go, or maybe only 3 days of coaching, and then you learn ratio on one day, and then you wait another day and learn the other part on 2 days later, and then there is an English class, and 1 day later you learn some more of ratios. Right now I invite you to do this. You can learn ratios in a day and a half, or even faster if you're already familiar or have confidence in maths. So the world is very, very different. The rate of learning can be very, very different. And or anyway, this is what I think about it. Finally, you have to try it out and see whether that works for you or not. So for 45 days of maths, I would suggest preparing for arithmetic, preparing for geometry, and then the very core ideas of algebra and number system. And it might feel scary and it might feel very, very unfamiliar, but as you get into it, you will realize that you've actually been through like good 5-6 years of maths education in school. So you're not that unfamiliar, and those old processes will also kick in and help you a little bit if you have been taught well. If you've been taught poorly, it will require a little bit of an extra effort. Now, even while learning a subject, let's say arithmetic, and arithmetic has you can make 5 major divisions. You have ratio, you have percentages, you have averages and weighted averages, you have time and work, and then you have time, speed and distance. Let's say these 5 topics. Even in these topics, if you follow the lessons on, if you follow the arithmetic course, and this has been mentioned a lot of times in almost all courses, there is a heart of the subject. So ratios and percentages at the heart of arithmetic. If you master ratios and percentages, a lot of other things you can actually think on your own on the spot. Training is great because in training somebody has found a lot of secrets and shortcuts and is sharing that with you. But even if you don't do that, you're looking at minimum. I will just carry tools with me, my left hand and my right hand. So in that case, in arithmetic, in a boxing match, ratios is your left hand and percentages is your right hand. And if these two are good, you can tackle with, and you can, basically defeat most enemy encounters as such, right? And then you say, okay, I have definitely mastered ratios and percentage. Now let me go for those ultra subject specialization like weighted averages specifically, or time, speed, distance as such. But once again, look at a subject and find its heart. There is a very famous principle called the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 principle. 20% of things account for 80% of like productivity or output, etc. So you have to find that 20% heart of the subject. Once you do that, you're also basically reducing your work for yourself. So I've been saying that a lot in most subjects. In arithmetic, let's say, it's not 8 or 9 subjects, it's 2 3 core ideas, and anybody can create a new problem around it. So don't get stuck in the type of the problem, learn the tool, and your life will be easy. To summarize and put it simply, verbal and CR and DI and LR can be zero prep kind of things if you have been playing those kind of games for a while, and you can learn from the mock itself. Each mock is also going to train you, so it's more just more practice material as such. Quant is the only one where you need to make substantial pre-theory, pre-formula kind of investments, and that also there is sufficient 45 days is sufficient time to at least master 2 major subjects and then learn the popular concepts of number system and algebra at least. And this is, remember, only a 45-day plan. If you extend it to 90 days, everything actually right now can be very, very relaxed. So I'm not even talking about a hyperactive plan. I've seen people prepare in 3 months comfortably. I've seen people do it in 60 days, 90 days also. One of the things required for such a feat is self-confidence, that I believe, yeah, this is possible. And when we say possible, I'm not talking about the exam result, right? That's like a lottery almost. You sneeze for 5 minutes and maybe you will lose 2 questions and your percentile will swing wildly. So when I say readiness, I mean that you are ready with the subject, you are a subject matter expert, and you have enough practice under your belt to make you feel confident. That's the only thing that a teacher can promise. I can make zero promises about percentile, because percentile also depends on other people's performances. So if everybody is depressed and they don't show up, you will get 100 percentile. But if everybody has worked very, very hard and you have also worked hard but maybe just a little bit lagging behind, you will not get that great percentile. So I don't want to get into the percentile game. I want to get into I know this subject well, that's the best I can do, right? That kind of a game. And for that, this plan should work. I hope it wasn't too outrageous and most of it was commonsensical. When I say zero prep, what I mean is that once upon a time the exam was actually designed to check your aptitude, and most people did go with zero prep. Coaching is a very recent 20-year phenomena. The CAT exam is actually like 40-45 years old. It's been going on for a while. So earlier people would just go and take the test, but because people started training, and the CAT exam also changes the exam precisely to counter hack the coaching industry, because you can take a particular subject and push someone unnaturally. So they're not good, they're not puzzle solvers, they're not into reading, but you can make them a certain way in quick time. CAT does not want that. CAT wants like those core deep skills and that task orientation as such. So that's a game between those two. I can only think of subject expertise and then being ready for any scenario that comes, and trusting luck and my own performance in the exam as such, right? So this is it for this session. I hope it is good enough to get you at least started, because that's the most important thing. Planning is easy, remember. There are like tons of planning videos out there, and that's kind of one of the reasons I avoid this. But planning is easy, the thing is execution. And I can tell you, for 90% of the people, just forget about not doing it in 15 days, even 20 days. They will just not start, or they will start and find an excuse. And then 5 days will go in a marriage, and 10 days will go in a festival, and then 5 days will go in some college activity, and then suddenly like, oh, now can I do it in 45 days before the exam? Even that's possible, but then the pressure is so much that you will say, okay, no, it's not going to happen, right? So I'm telling you, the competition is also very limited. If you just put in daily effort, I can promise you great results. Summary being that there is actually very little competition out there. Everybody wants a strategy video, everybody wants to make a plan and a list. But when you actually have to do 20 questions, it becomes quite sweaty, and then there are always better excuses and escapes. So if you put in just the bare minimum daily effort and you keep at it for the next 4 months, I can promise you astounding results, if not in the exam, then in life as such. Because most of these skills that you're learning a little bit of competition, hopefully learning a lot of language and about the world. Those things will also come in handy as you enter the job market. So none of it will go waste. And if you get a great percentile in the exam, irrespective of MBA or not MBA, that will hold you in good stead for a long time. But just in case the percentiles are bad, let me also tell you, CAT percentiles don't determine somebody's life fortune. Tendulkar has not appeared for CAT, Virat Kohli has not appeared for CAT, Dhirubhai Ambani has not appeared for CAT, Federer has not appeared for CAT. It's fine, you can find all kinds of people from all walks of life, successful or failures, and CAT has nothing to do with it. So don't over glorify it, it's just another test, and it's already messed up. There are like 3 lakh people but only 3,000 seats. It's not your fault, right, that there is so much population and so limited education opportunities. So it's already like a messed up game. Don't take it and make your life about it. Make your life about mastering a subject that I want to try 10 days and acquire a skill. Because if I can do that in another 20 days, maybe I can learn another skill which has nothing to do with CAT. Maybe programming or music or marketing or something, whatever tickles your fancy, right? So I hope that's enough and not too much. And I will see you really soon next time.